Hello again, everyone. Melth here, to continue my Baldur's Gate 3 challenge run, details of which are in the video description. Watch out for spoilers throughout this series. So, last time we got back from the Githyanki Infirmary, where they've been unable to help us with our Parasite. So in character, I guess our next idea is that maybe Omeluum, the Mind Flayer, would know something about it. He asked us to find some rare mushrooms for him last time, so we'll go take care of that. Out of character, we're getting to the point where there's just not that many things left to do in Act 1, and a lot of them are kind of scattered, and it's hard to justify going to each of them because they're just all over the place. But, of course, for my run, I need to do every single thing, so I'm going to try to, find explanations for how I get from place to place and why I do all of these things. This is the best way, I think, to the Arcane Tower, so come on up here. This is also, of course, near where we went down to the Festering Cove and made an offering to the great god Bual. You might have thought it was weird at that time that there was a red cap was, Bual. And there's a really clever explanation for that I want to kind of praise over here. Good world design. Let's head on over here. We'll find the crushed body of this drow.
Body is crushed. Must have fallen from pretty high up.
So, one of those mushrooms was an illusion. I guess he didn't use his feather fall, which he should have. I don't know why this is marked as an orange book, as if it was an important quest item. As far as I know, there's nothing important at all about it. Just this guy summoned something dumb and got himself banished. We'll talk to him, I guess.
The corpse regards you like
through backpack. Too light. Fell.
Now this part I don't really like. This is a puzzle where some of the mushrooms are illusions and whatnot. But illusions can't hold any weight. It shouldn't matter that the backpack is light. It should just fall through anyway.
Worked alone.
It just kind of feels a little bit cheesy that they, throwing anything at them should just break things, but to make things harder for the player, that make that not work logically.
Vandry. Far scout. Searching. Quick path to surface.
It kind of is one here, but it relies on hag magic, so it's not really convenient.
more questions.
Other than that, this is one of the most remote parts of the Underdark, and quite inconvenient. I've already looted him. Let's loot these treasures over there. The skeleton just has, I think a bone, nothing else.
I'll take that.
So anyway, this is clearly hag illusion type magic, which is reminding Ballista of how we heard that Mayrina had been seemingly captured by the hag, with more important things to do at the time, like save, bunches of people. So we didn't bother to help, and he feels kind of bad about that. Maybe now we can go back and make that right. So that one's an illusion. Basically, as you'd expect, there's like one true mushroom for each level. So up we go. I guess we need to climb up there. Nothing important over here, really. Just alchemy ingredients of no particular value. But it's a cool little secret area. I wanted to demonstrate that. And this mushroom circle here will teleport us back down to the bottom. There's also an illusion over there that we'll go through momentarily. In the real world, mushrooms often do grow in circles. Sometimes they're called fairy circles, but the reason for that is just that underground is all one organism connecting all of them. So we only see this tiny surface body, but the mushroom is the entire thing underground, filling up that entire space. Alright, so over here is an illusion, which we can just walk through.
Another illusion.
Worth a good chunk of XP, at least. And then, this portal is odd. See, as I recollect, it used to take you up to this other area where you'd just be blocked. You'd face a gnarled door that, unlike the other gnarled door in the hag lair, is not an illusion. You can only get through it with a whispering mask, which you can't possibly have from this side yet. But now, if we go through it, it takes us up to the surface, actually. I don't know if they changed that in the patch, or if you can only unlock the other path when you come from the hag side, or something like that now. Anyway, over here, this is Mayrina's husband, trapped in this arcane barrier. So, need to go back and do that Mayrina quest shortly, but for now, Baldur just kind of adds it to his to-do list. We'll go here, next, pretty much. Out of character, what I want to do is unlock Omeluum as a merchant. So he hit level 6 last time. I want to use that to go to his inventory a few times and shop with him. So to get him as a merchant, I need to first go through this mushroom quest, basically. And then I want to do the hag probably after that, because the hag gives a really nice perk for the rest of the game, if you don't quite kill her.
Scorched ground.
This is an area that I really hate dealing with, to be honest. It's just kind of tedious. There are ways around it that make it less tedious, but these things are worth XP. So I'll do them the brute force way. You might wonder, by the way, why I'm not bringing Glut here. And the answer is Glut is shockingly worthless for this area because, so let's take a look at these turrets that shoot at us. See, it says they resist piercing and slashing. Hey, no bludgeoning on the list, right? Bludgeoning must work. No. They have an unwritten immunity to bludgeoning for some reason, so he can't punch them. And the hook horror can't really damage them either. Anything that does less than 10 damage after resistance is useless. So basically only Astarion with his main hand attacks and Ballista can actually damage these things. And you've got to do it in turn-based mode, otherwise they'll shoot you too fast. So
Let's do it.
weird that you can drain its ability. There's another turret over there we've got to watch out for. If they block even a tiny thing, that does stop them from shooting. But you must watch out, because even in turn-based mode, they can somehow shoot you on your turn sometimes if you walk into their, path if it's already set on you, but not other times.
Someone there?
You might wonder why I don't use the Susser blossoms to deal with this, by the way. I could go and get those, but the thing is, I actually find that to be worse than nothing here, because Susser shuts them down temporarily. But then if you walk by them again with it, it reactivates them at full health, which is terrible. So I would say don't use Susser blooms here, just take them out by force.
Stop me yet.
Unless you want to skip them entirely, which there are ways to do, but then you lose XP. Missed. Come on, Astarion. Alright, there's another one over here that's been aimed at us, so let's try to take that out if we can.
Let's.
There we go. We can finally get out of turn-based mode and advance through this area, but there are a few more of these boring towers waiting for us.
Never mind.
So this tower belonged to Lenore, as was mentioned before, and then Lenore's lover was Ire, who, they were a gnome who made all the lightning items that we find over the course of the game. Not too much to them other than that, really. It's a +1 thrown weapon, I guess I'll keep it for that reason. So this is kind of presented some kind of tragedy where the two of them just kind of never reunited or whatever, but not for any kind of permanent reason as far as I'm aware. Nothing I can find indicates that Ire is dead. And neither is Lenore. She wrote this letter asking for Ire to come back after they had broken up. They found it or whatever, but then she just didn't come back from Baldur's Gate, but she's still alive there as far as we know. We just never get to meet her. We find letters from her indicating that she's doing just fine, seemingly. So this should not be hard to reunite in this world where, like, Sending is a mere 3rd level wizard spell, and cleric spell for that matter, which can communicate to anyone infallibly across, like, planes and whatnot. So they just need to send a few text messages by Sending and meet back up. Now, if you want to circumvent most of the tower, you can just go on this path right down there. Jump down those mushrooms, you can get around everything and get around most of the security. But, again, I want to get all the XP from those turrets, so I'm going to go ahead and do things the somewhat slow way here. It is a cool, forbidding area, and I like that it's a puzzle and so forth. Like, this zone is not really about fights, it's about puzzles, which I enjoy the idea of. I just find the turrets in particular to be kind of boring. So in we go, where more of these turrets await. It wouldn't let me go into turn-based mode fast enough there, because it was busy auto-saving. Thank you, auto-save function, you cost me some hit points. See, you can see it just shot at me even though it was not its turn.
What now? Let's be quick.
Is really boring.
Interesting.
Okay, it is finally dealt with. So, there's a lot of stuff to loot here as we go through this place. These are just kind of pretty bad alchemy ingredients that make elixirs of resisting electricity, but who cares about that? This is almost the only place in the game I find any electric damage, so, yeah. Potions of speed are very welcome, though. Those are rare, and as I've shown before, they're quite useful. Giving like, the whole party basically the haste effect is great.
Swift as
So the whole place is kind of a combination of machine and magical devices. And then out in the balconies you can find the ways to get through this interesting 3D environment. I really love that idea. You can use Featherfall and use your good vision to notice that there are mushrooms you can hop down there and things like that. None of these mushrooms are illusions, by the way. That's only in the Hag area. And it was just cool to explore a 3D environment that is full of kind of puzzles and exploration rather than just monsters to fight. I enjoy that a lot. There's another kind of secret, puzzly magic chest thing out here.
Tingly. Is that the chest's magic?
So it's full of items that are not what they appear. Mistress Grace is a pair of boots that lets you cast Featherfall, but we have so many ways to cast that. It's a well-designed little player failsafe in case you don't have Featherfall, but you can really use well to navigate this area. So that's what it exists for, I'm sure.
Always room for more.
Mage Armor, I've been wanting more scrolls of that because I could not find any for the longest time. So good to have them now. This middle thing here is an elevator, but it's inactive right now. We need to go down to the basement and reactivate the power supply for it to work. These books are one of the puzzles that I don't actually like very much. So we find these books with these quotes from a play, basically. And if we speak some of these words from the play to the robot thing on the roof, then it likes us. But if we say the wrong lines from the play, which feel pretty arbitrary, it then attacks us, and we need to battle it. Anyway, here is where we get the mushrooms that we need. Tin Mask in this section, then Tongue of Madness in the other one. So this is the only floor we need to go to really activate Omeluum as a merchant. But I will just explore the rest of the stuff except for the roof at this point, I think, just for doing it all in one chunk seems more efficient. That's where we came from.
No way to ignite these. Strange.
And we can just Featherfall out of there. Let me check there's something else on this floor, though, first. There's a lot of treasure in the place, and I don't remember where every single item is. So here we are on the balcony, and this is the place to cast Featherfall and then just jump off. That would work in other places too, but this is where we're going to be doing it.
Shouldn't have wished to live in.
Oh, one of our ravens got left behind. Flying creatures are surprisingly bad at their job in this game. Not awful, but like they will often fail to path find things that you could just fly over trivially. So here we have our first Susser bloom things. I don't know why we can't harvest bark from this Susser tree, but we can. There'll be a lot of Susser blooms, and they're quite valuable. They're meant to only function in the Underdark, and they shut off all magic in an aura, which is pretty powerful. I mean, I say all magic. They narratively shut off all magic. In practice, they stop spellcasting, and they stop a few select creatures from doing things, like animated armors cease to function around them, but most of the time, they only shut down your spellcasting, basically. In any case, used for a few things around here. And we'll find a few more of them in the Dread Hollow section that we'll be going to later on. I don't want to actually be carrying them most of the time because it stops me from doing my Warlock stuff, which is really bad, but we'll use them in here in this tower. And then we demonstrate one of the things that go up here, I think. There's a secret passage you can spot somewhere or other. There we go.
That might be worth a look. I'm waiting.
So it just pops out in there, if you couldn't open this, I guess. Again, it's a cool 3D maze, lots of ways to get through it.
A couple turns should do it.
So, lots of treasure down in this level. This is clearly a secret passageway door, but we can't open it from this side. Or can we? I'll show a clever way to do that. Yeah, this hole leads to the outside there, I believe. So then over here, this is the power generator, where we put in the Susser flower. It's indicated by its withered blue petals. I don't know why that works, because Susser is anti-magic, but here it just activates this magical gadget thing, so I guess it does whatever the plot demands at the moment. There's a book nearby about its magic properties. It's not explained it either, so doesn't really matter too much. And as I was saying, if you take them up to the surface, they just wither and never work again. Although there are buggy exploit ways to keep them around forever. by splitting them up into different stacks and putting them into bags and whatnot, but I'm not going to do that. That'd be a cheesy exploit. I'll just only use them here where you're supposed to be able to use them, basically, in the Underdark. Cool cutscene, seeing the place activate and seeing then the robots up on the roof. He's not supposed to have vanished there. Oh well. Anyway, that shuts down the defensive towers, so that's the way you can get around if you didn't want to deal with them by brute force. Treatise here basically says nothing about these things. But she came here to research them, I guess, and then found the place was really lonely and awful. And that might be why she didn't return. It might just be that she didn't want to come back to the Underdark because it's a place that's just miserable and dark all the time.
What's hiding here?
So up these stairs we get to one of the other. So up these stairs we get to one of the other levels. But I want to demonstrate one thing here. We kind of see that down there is a lever. We just need to find a way to get over to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Leiboing Zell get out of the anti-magic field. And then summon up a mage hand. Then we'll have the mage hand, because it can fly, and it can also pull levers. Go in there, through those holes. Then we have it pull the lever, they have it opening up the secret passageway for us. And that's great, because the secret passageway leads to all the good treasure in this place. So, treasure-wise, we don't need to even go up to the roof and fight the robots anymore, which is normally how you find the way to get down to the basement from there. But we can skip that, although we won't, because of course I'm going to fight everything in this game. Camera would please focus. So, secret basic treasure room, again, I love that. And the elevators now work because we've done things with the Cellar bloom and the generator. This is basically the meaningless book about this Netherese ruin. The guy worked with some Shadowvar who were surviving Netherese that were in the Shadowfell at the time. Netherese civilization fell. Watch out, by the way, don't do alchemy after picking these things up. You can actually use them up and then not be able to hand them over to Omeluum and spoil things for yourself that way, which is quite a nuisance. And this is one of the best staffs in the entire game. It's described a little bit vaguely, and it's worth clarifying what it does, but it's really, really good. So, I mean, first of all, let's say cast Bless, which is a really good spell, as I mentioned before. I cast it a lot. But it's only once per long rest, so that's not that great. But then the cool part about it is this. Whether you cast it from this staff or just cast Bless in general. Standard Bless, but an extra 1d4 for spell attack rolls. And Bless is already really good, so making Bless even better for the whole rest of the game is incredible. Especially with the Warlock in the party who can really benefit from the spell attack roll boost. So we want that from now on somebody whenever we're casting Bless.
Open up.
What to do?
So here's Lenore talking about going to the Underdark, and then sort of writing a diary because it's so lonely down here. And she says she'll be coming back. She then wrote the letter to Iri asking Iri to stay, and then Iri came back, but then she never returned because she just stayed in Baldur's Gate for whatever reason. And it's not quite tragic because it'd be super easy for them to meet up if they just use any magic whatsoever, but I guess they don't. We'll find a lot of information about Gith and Mind Flayers here. Many top copies of this book for some reason. So the basic story of the Githyanki is that they were, like pretty much every race, they were enslaved by the Mind Flayers, then they got psionic powers and broke free. It happened not just to the Githyanki, they aren't special that way. It happened to the Dwergar, it happened to all kinds of other Underdark races. They all get psionic powers and break free. The Mind Flayers just do not learn their lesson from that somehow or other.
Should mind my step. Books we've seen many times before.
Lots of scrolls. Good source on those. Ah, mage armor again. Okay, so now that I've spent a wizard spell slot on mage armor, I now find scrolls of it everywhere. Basilisk Oil is used to unpetrify people, but that's less useful than you might expect. There's basically no one who you want to unpetrify in the game. Who doesn't get unpetrified by some kind of story event, that is. But many valuable scrolls in here, so that's great. This is back up to the entry level where we came in. Here's the one above, and above us here, I believe, are the robots on the roof. Don't know why this level is such a wreck. Anyway, I think I'll leave the other susser bloom here, so I can pick it up on the way up to fight the robots later on.
Let's see what this does.
Lenore was certainly depressed over here because, you know, Underdark is just an awful place to live and her dog died and things like that. She might have just not wanted to come back because it's just, as I said before, a miserable place. For a surface dweller, anyway. This is a Dwergar song. Orendal is the Mind Flayer city, so again, it's a reference to how the Dwergar were enslaved by the Mind Flayers and they got psionic powers and broke free. Also, their god Ladugware, the Exile, helped them break free too.
Disc appears in your mind's eye. Lae'zel sees it too, and considers the vision.
I wanted to do this before going back to deal with Youth Varl in the Githyanki Crash. One reason I didn't just wipe out the Githyanki Crash at that time, out of character.
Wait. The texts are enciphered, but I've solved the pattern. It's a story about...
I don't know why they gave him a real-world mythological name when other Githyanki just have, you know,
with Lae'zel's.
random fantasy names full of apostrophes. Doesn't seem to fit.
Even without the connection, you'd recognize her discomfort.
a traitor. A dead one. This text is heresy. I can hardly bear to read it, let alone...
Silly hyperbole from Le Boingzel there.
Very well. I will read it to you. The Prince of the Comet, Part 1. So it was that we were free from Gaich's shackles and turned our blades on each other.
This is a civil war with the Githyanki and Githzera. And the fact that Orpheus is on the Githyanki side, as I said before, shows he is a bad person, like, ipso facto. Anyone who did not want to just dominate and tyrannize the entire universe became a Githzera instead of a Githyanki. That's not a thing that reasonable people can disagree about.
Lies. Gith made no such proclamation. Vlaakiths seized the Empire against the Mother.
He just wants to rule the universe himself rather than have Vlaakith do it.
Gith had nurtured a son.
Now maybe he's become, less awful in the intervening millennia, who knows. But at the time, at least, he was awful.
Vlaakith's treachery.
The ones that were not bad became Githzera.
Guard and declared the throne for himself. The War of the Comet had begun. Disregard this drivel. Gith declared Vlaakith Queen of the Empire and her...
I also want to point out, you might think, and it would be logical, that this Vlaakith that seized the power back then is the same evil Vlaakith that's ruling now. It's not. This is like Vlaakith 145 or something stupid like that. Every single Vlaakith is basically identical to each other for some reason. Same policies, all liches. Just, it's absurd. It would make more sense if they're just one Vlaakith because they're a lich. They last forever. Plus they're in the astral plane, making them even last more forever. But no, we're supposed to believe that there are about 145 identical Queen Vlaakiths ruling the Githyanki, all of whom were liches, but all got killed somehow or other, I guess. And it doesn't make any sense.
She did nothing of the sort. Thank your good fortunes I'm a tolerant woman, or I'd have sliced off a few toes for suggesting it.
This is funny, given that Shadowheart is dead. There's kind of no acknowledgement of that.
I am concerned.
Yeah, it's over, because she's, dead.
It is through conflict that we strengthen our bonds. Yet I do not recommend Shadowheart seek it again. The next resolution may not end in her favor.
I guess Li Guangzhou was not technically there on screen when we talk about Shadowheart. Maybe she just doesn't know. We told her that Shadowheart went off to live in like a farm or something like that. This is a unique book, I think. It doesn't have anything important in it. But a maps is basically some diplomat halfling who doesn't want people to just kill each other. And then he mentions his counterpart, Suelto, whose book we find later on, who just advocates exterminating enemies and things like that. And it doesn't really matter at all, but just kind of a counterpart pair of books. This is the play all these quotes are coming from. It's okay poetry, I guess. A little melodramatic. Not really, honestly, much to do with Lenore and the robots on the roof, in my opinion. The Bilat is kind of a pet of Lenore, which is why it attacks usually around this area or also around near Myrna's grave. Myrna's being the dog. I guess if I found all the autumn crocus around in this area, it was probably planted by Lenore and so forth. It's, cool background lore stuff, I guess. This item is probably not worth it because these skills are almost worthless. So I don't know. We'll keep it around in case we have some use for it, but they never really come up. Not worth a ring slot.
Strange place for a button.
So that button, if you have the dog collar from Myrna's grave, will dispense meat, so it's kind of a way for Myrna to get food, I guess. Although long since out of date, since Myrna is dead. In any case, we'll go up to the roof, we'll have to deal with the robots. Let's not do that right now, let's come back and do that later on. For now, we have what we need to go back to Mushroom Town.
Not well. The nutrition my species receives from other minds is difficult to...
Let's cast Resistance for this conversation. I think we need to make some saving throws in it. Oh. Oh, this is too near the tin mask. Oh, he's gone berserk. Okay, we can't do anything about that right now.
So that's progress.
Very well.
Greetings. What knowledge do you seek?
Omeluum turns away to prepare the potion, lost in its own musings.
You must drink the entire draught. I can make no promises as to its taste.
The potion is disgusting beyond description. The only mercy is that it goes down quickly.
Not a drop left. Very good. As the potion influences your mind, you may find yourself acting irrationally. Try and stay focused.
Just need to make a series of saving throws here, basically. Not unlike the same things, but with much less bad consequences and a much smaller reward.
Boundaries. You are.
He doesn't really do anything meaningful out of character. We get a completely useless perk. I say completely useless, an almost useless perk. We'll probably never use it in the entire game.
Dark holes bite at the edges of your vision, but the void cannot draw you in. The tadpole spasms, seizes. It's fighting the potion even harder than you are. Fear pierces your mind like knives of ice. The parasite digs deeper.
Luckily, no actual harm from it gnawing away at our brain here. Just pick your best saving throw here, it doesn't really matter. This is a barred option.
The cold blades lose their edge. You are stalwart, turning that tide of fear against itself. The parasite swells with power.
This seems silly given we've already done the Zaithboinsisk thing.
It surges and twists, lashing out against that which would dare to intrude. The parasite in your mind quiets, pleased with itself.
Omeluum, are you well?
That lava is like nothing I have ever observed before.
It's kind of arbitrary powers from Netherese magic.
Unsettling.
I don't really know why that should make it any better at psionics rather than arcane magic, but whatever.
Such an outcome was not in my calculations. There is more to this being than mere stasis. Indeed. Although I may have another solution, albeit a temporary.
This made more sense in the early access, apparently, when this Ring of Balance shielding actually does link to affect the Parasite. Now it does nothing. Literally nothing that affects the Parasite in any way. So this dialogue is out of date and kind of misleading. Which is disappointing, because it would have been a cool story thing if this ring, if you got it through this little side quest, actually had an impact on the story.
Both positive and negative. I would offer it as a gift, but in truth...
As far as I can tell, there's no consequences for him giving it up either. He'll be just fine in Act 3 without it.
Is there anything you could offer me in turn?
You can often just give him a story, but I don't see an option to do that now for some reason. I feel like this is kind of an out-of-character thing to do. I'll just probably go ahead and inspiration it.
We shouldn't cause trouble, Omeluum. There are enough threats down here in the Underdark.
Very well.
I wanted to show this that he will...
And would rather prevent...
He does generally seem to be truthful about this kind of thing. He only uses violence where he absolutely must.
It is yours.
As I said, just everything in the game that seems to indicate that he really is a good mind flayer, which is a real thing that exists, that is never to be trusted.
A pretty thing. And at least it offers us some...
And it does not. It offers nothing protection from the tadpole.
Of
It's
course,
useless.
the lava remains. Be ever vigilant.
He doesn't even have minus approval with us for threatening him there, which is kind of odd, but in any case. All it does is give you a resistance to being charmed, which everyone who's an elf or half-elf has already, so we'll just go ahead and sell that thing. I wanted to just demonstrate that.
She is cataloged.
Anyway, he is now a merchant.
Friend of the dark.
He sells a few good things, but not enough to be worth befriending him over, because a lot of the prices are so low that it barely matters. I'll probably try these. Reverberation is one of the statuses that's new to this game, which is kind of interesting, but I find it almost never really be worth it. What's cool about it is it gives penalties to Constitution saving throws, which matter more than some of the other ones do. So if you can stack it up, it can make people then fail saves against important saving throw spells, sometimes. It's okay. The falling prone part, the save DC against it is so low that even if they had that penalty, they will probably succeed with it anyway, and doesn't really do that much all the time. When you knock enemies prone on their turn, they lose their turn in this game. Whereas if you do it not on their turn, it barely affects them at all. They just lose some movement, which is not that great. Still, I'll take them and see if I can find a use for them. This is fantastic. One of the best items in Act 1. You'll use it for the whole rest of the game to restore spell slots for free, basically, up to level 3. This is also pretty good for just boosting your save DCs while being in Obscured and Shadow, which happens a lot. So, it's worth it just because we don't have any good hats right now. This I find is not good because I don't want to resist this damage because I don't plan to take any damage, so I don't really use that very often. And these are the real prize, in my opinion. Spike bulbs and void bulbs. They cost basically nothing. He's the only good, reliable source on them. And you've seen how good void bulbs are before. And spike bulbs are not really great normally, but now that all of this Buol's benediction, it's an automatic way to enforce bleeding enemies in a group, so that could be pretty good for us. So I want to try that at the very least. See if I can get some use out of it. But we'll pick up with more merchant stuff, and with level ups next time. Thank you for watching, everyone. And a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Frank Maidens, Master Knight DH, Jackie, and Lino, George Grin, Travis, Carlo Andrea 97, Cthulhu's Mom, Gregory, William Wakefield, Danny Hall, Jeffrey Morse, Just Becca, Jack, Austin Livingston, Mashas01, Jacob Marshall, Nubiana, Till Fisher, Latinx, Discord Colossus, Nicholas Schmuck, Kostya Nesterovich, Vol the Great, Luke Frederick Brune, Goman Blackrock, Dodo King 4, Martian Bialek, Techno Waffle, Mavith, Nebular, I Loop, Michael Francis, Emperor Kong 420, and Robin Maki. Have a great day, everyone.